Alright, I'm gonna do a little bit more follow-up on the voice training. So I believe I talked about, in the first video, I talked a bit about learning to analyze voices and figuring out what voices you like and which voices you want to steal from. In the second one, I talked more about resonance, and how important it is. And in this one, I think I'll talk about some more, like, physical tricks to doing those things. I did talk a little bit about, I think, the hot breath versus cold breath. So let's start with that. So resonance is very important in how your voice gets gendered by most people. And I believe that resonance gives you more bang for your buck compared to pitch alone, because there are deep feminine voices and there are high masculine voices. So a lot of it is in your cadence and, you know, other social markers of gender like bouncy versus barking. And a lot of it is also purely in your resonance, as in whether you have an open resonance, which is a large amount of space in your throat, mouth, etc., where the vibrations of your voice can kind of bounce around and get those nice tones going. So, I am learning voice masculinization, and some of the tips that I have been given, usually they're taught side by side with feminization, so you kind of have to learn both at once because you need to learn what to do and what not to do. So, for resonance, to have a higher resonance, one thing you can do is, like, hot breath on a cold day. When you want to see your voice, you go, ha, 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 and your chest is going outwards a bit. For the feminine, you are doing the opposite of that. So it's like you have a really hot soup and you need to cool it off. So you go, right? So that would be the feminized version, and hot. So so masculine, hot breath, feminine, cool breath. Besides that, there's also the shape of your throat. So one of the things I was taught is that when you are doing an O sound, like O, your throat is expanding left and right and front and back in kind of like, imagine a balloon that's like blowing up in your throat and pushing the walls of your throat out in a spherical shape, right? So O, O. So the opposite of that is when you are doing an E sound. So if you're trying to feminize your voice, you might want to do more of like E. So for me, when I do that E sound, what I'm feeling in my throat, E, is that my tongue is going, and the back of my throat with my tongue is kind of being pushed backwards and upwards, and it turns the shape of the air pocket inside of my mouth a lot thinner and flatter, like a pancake. E, especially towards the back, and the top of the back of my tongue, E, is almost completely touching the roof of my mouth there. And then after the part where your tongue touches the roof of your mouth, there's still an open pocket for your voice to kind of resonate in the front of your face, right? So E, and I also feel more tension in my throat, so it kind of compresses my throat below the tongue into a flat, thin shape, where the flatness is like it's pressing on the front and the back of my throat near my spine. It presses together to make kind of this thin, flat paper type space for voice to resonate. Whereas with the O voice, O, I definitely feel my voice going backwards towards my throat in a more rounded kind of like expanding. I'm getting more room. So those are some good tips for resonance. Now let's talk about pitch. Okay, so when you are doing pitch, your larynx moves up and down. So the easiest way to feel this, and you're gonna have to practice until you get a feel, because different people have different things, but for me, often I can't feel the muscles in my body until I train them a little bit, and then I very gradually gain control over them. I'm like wrestling control from my nervous system. My nervous system wants to have everything on macros so that I don't have to consciously control them, and I want to shake it and be like, this is my territory now, give me my freaking control, they're my muscles, I should move them how I want. And that just takes time. Sometimes people pick it up right away if you're very talented in that area. My muscle control is bad because I have a disorder of my nervous system. And so sometimes it can take me months to be able to get a little bit of control over some muscles. Everybody's different. So right now I can control them well, but that's because I spent years doing professional singing lessons. And even then, there's still a lot of muscles that I haven't quite gained territory over yet. So, how do you begin the process of gaining control of these muscles? Well, the first step is to get a feel for the muscles so that you can actually tell where your voice box is, what it feels like when it's up, and what it feels like when it's down. Obviously, if you can't control it very consciously, then how are you going to do that? Well, there are certain positions that you can do that force your vocal tract up and down on a physical level. So, if you want to force your vocal tract to go up, right, into a higher pitch, you can test that by sticking your tongue out really far in the front of your mouth. And when you do that, for me, I feel kind of like this tension stretching near underneath my tongue where there's salivary glands, and then it's like two bands going up towards the back and upward portion of my throat. And I feel that get tense. And then you also could feel, you might not feel it right away, but if you do it enough times, you'll eventually get a feel for it. And you can feel your larynx actually lifts because your tongue is being strained too far forward. And it's actually pulling parts of your throat up with it. And that's how your larynx goes up. So what you'd want to do is stick your tongue out, feel the larynx up, then try to move your tongue back into your mouth while keeping that same larynx lifting in your throat, right? So you feel the lift, and then you try to hold that lift in place while you put your tongue back. So this is me talking normally, and then this is me talking with my larynx lifted after my tongue was in the back of my throat. So you should be able to hear that my larynx is pretty high up and my pitch has gone up. I'm not as talented as my teacher and I'm still learning, so it might not be that extreme. Now, for masculinization, you're going to do the opposite thing. What you're going to do is try to force your tongue down your throat as much as possible. And when you do that, your larynx will also drop into a low position. And then the same thing as the high notes. You keep doing that until you get the feel for your larynx, right? Until you can feel how your throat is supposed to feel. And then you push your tongue back up into your mouth, forward into a natural tongue position, without allowing your throat to move back into its other position as well. So let's try that. I'm going to shove my tongue as deep into my throat as I can. And now I'm going to push it up while keeping my larynx low. And this is what it sounds like. It might not be that extreme. because I am still learning. But anyway, so this is what it's like when I keep that larynx low in my throat, but my tongue is back into position. So I just practice doing that, and when I'm talking, I very often switch out of this position. You can just shove your tongue back down your throat and get a feel for it, and keep doing that throughout the day until you kind of get better at keeping it there, right? And another thing I'll do, and you'll sometimes see me doing this while I'm on stream, is I will do those previous exercises that I went over last time about the yawn counting. So I'll just go as low as I can, and then I talk after that while trying to keep it still. Now, you could tell that I was low and then I went back up because my muscle memory is terrible and I have to practice a lot to get it to work, but I'll just do it again. Tongue down and then a yawn. Alright, so I'm talking with my tongue down and my yawning it's not perfect. Okay. Yeah, I'm doing my best. It's a thing. It's just gonna take lots of practice. So, going over those basic tips, throat resonance, and mouth resonance. So the O sound gives you a lot of space, and the E sound kind of restricts that space. You want, yeah, and then the tongue thing. So I think that's a good one. Another thing is like barking and pitch, but those are like more cadence issues. So yeah, those are the basic tips that I've gotten. So I'm going to just do a few exercises here. Tongue down, yawn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Throat resonance, mouth resonance. We're practicing things. Oh. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You want to practice with things that don't take up any brain space, because you're using that brain space to control your muscles. And I keep slipping out of it, but that's just life sometimes. One, two, three, four, five. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you just keep going at it and doing your best. And you can also use those little reminder phrases. I like to do eto, because when I do that, my larynx drops into the right position. Eto ne. Lyrics, and for some reason it was always easier for me to go low in Japanese than English. Probably because, socialization, I don't know. Alright, so, yeah, those are some tips, doing some practice today, and, yeah, this one was a lot more quick and to the point than the other ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can talk like this all I want. Hi, my name is Noane, and I'm a constituent from Olympia. Hi, I'm a VTuber, and I'm fucking around with throat muscles. Blah, 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 blah. Yep, okay, cool. Well,